English clubs with most top-flight wins as Liverpool become first over 2,000 mark. Liverpool's 3-1 victory over Newcastle United on Thursday night was important for the Reds' title challenge, but it also brought up a big milestone for the Anfield club. Goals from Diogo Jota, Mohamed Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold ensured the Reds wrapped up their 2,000th top-flight win, making them the first club to ever achieve the feat. Liverpool have achieved the feat despite other clubs having played more top-flight seasons than them, with Jurgen Klopp's men cementing top spot in the race to 2,000 thanks in no small part to their 30 league wins in 2018-19 and 32 the following season as they won the Premier League. Here's a look at who might become the next in line to reach the milestone as Liverpool begin their journey towards 3,000. Will Liverpool win the Premier League this season? Have your say in the comments section. With more than 100 top-flight seasons under their belt, Liverpool were always going to be towards the top of this list. Some 94 wins have come in the last 3 and a bit seasons alone, improving an average which already sat at an impressive 18 or so per season. As things stand, it's hard to see anyone else making up the gap. The Gunners' successful years under Arsene Wenger meant there was a time when they were frontrunners to be the first to 2,000, but they have started to stagnate. Mikel Arteta's side have won fewer games in the last 4 and a bit seasons than Liverpool have in the last 3 and a bit, to fall off the pace a little. They're still comfortable in second in this table, though, and a resurgence under their young manager makes them strong favourites to reach the milestone in the silver medal position. Everton's numbers owe a lot to their title wins in the old First Division era, before the Premier League came into being in 1992. The Merseyside club won their last of their 9 league titles more than 30 years ago, and the most wins they have recorded in a single Premier League campaign is 21 under Roberto Martinez in 2013-14. Longevity has worked in the Toffees' favour, though, with more than a half-century of unbroken top-flight football under their belts. United have won 16 more Premier League games than Everton since the start of the 2018-19 season, and that could be a guide to how long it might take them to leapfrog them in the overall standings. Everton have longevity in their favour, with more than 20 extra seasons, but United led the way in terms of league titles. United might be closing in on a decade without a title, but they're holding firm in the race to 2,000 wins. A few years outside the Premier League saw Villa drop off the pace, but they've been back up and running since returning in 2019. 16 wins in the 2020-21 season represented their best tally in more than a decade, but you have to go all the way back to 1992-93, a 42-game season, for the last time they managed more than 20. Villa have shown improvement under Steven Gerrard and have left those below them with a big gap to make up. Manchester City still have a bit of ground to make up, having spent time in the second and even the third tier during the Premier League era. A total of 140 wins across Pep Guardiola's 5 full seasons in charge tells its own story, though City weren't earning any top-flight wins of all around the turn of the century. Can City make up more than 150 wins on Villa and beat them to 2,000? You wouldn't rule it out. If Tottenham manager Antonio Conte didn't have enough motivation, the sight of former club Chelsea breathing down his team's necks on this list ought to help. Spurs and Chelsea have played the same number of top-flight seasons and couldn't be much closer in terms of wins. The North London side's 26 wins in 2016-17 remains their best total in a 38-game season, and ironically it was Conte's Chelsea who kept them off top spot that season. Chelsea have gradually been gaining ground on Spurs over the last couple of seasons, and their fast start in 2021-22 has reduced the gap even further. However, while the Blues have more league titles than Spurs, their 20th-century top-flight history includes a number of finishes in mid-table and lower. It'll be a big ask for the London side to ever improve on the 30 wins they racked up under Conte in 2016-17. Newcastle might not have won the top flight in the best part of a century, but they have been one of the more prominent teams in the division. The Magpies are currently in the midst of a 5th straight year in the Premier League, but you have to go back to 2011-12 for the last time they won half of their league games in one season. If Eddie Howe's strugglers go down this season, though, they'll still have a buffer over their nearest challengers. The final place in the top 10 is the only one occupied by a team outside the Premier League. Sunderland might be down in League One these days, but they were a fixture in the top flight in its early years and won 5 titles in the 19th and 20th centuries. The club won just 6 games in their most recent top-flight season, though, before suffering a second successive relegation 1 year later, and are yet to return to the second tier.